Dan, RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day. Dan, we got, the third episode. I almost said my show name again, right? That'd be crazy. It's a third show. Agnes and I, we did 5, so we're halfway through it now. This one was really cool. We get into, that's why I'm calling it Science, Coincidence, and Markers, or just Science, Coincidence, Markers. It's Agnes Vivarelli and myself. Very cool stuff. I kind of re-listened to it before and just that we were really on the money with science, coincidences, things to pay attention to. She had someone that she quotes, some great stuff in it. So check it out. On the way out, I've got another great song to close out this whole session. Thank you for joining me.
Sure.
So we kind of wanted to chit-chat also about, and this was an email from someone, and she's like, you and Anya should meet again. I'm like, well, ironically, yeah, we're meeting in a couple days. And I'm like, this is really a cool topic. So I think it's important, and there's, like this person, the way they brought it up was they have a friend that doesn't believe that, coincidences happen. I think one of the examples was there's a special song that meant a lot to her, and she happened to flip on Pandora one day, and boom, that song was on, and then boom, the very next song was another awesome song.
Yeah.
And it was like a format that wasn't really even totally appropriate for the type of music that I guess like the country channel she was on, and it was more of a rock and roll song maybe or something weird. And her friend was like, well, that's Pandora. That's not coincidence. Universe doesn't, work that way. And the lady's like, I don't know if I believe that. And my thing is whatever you're turning your focus to, the universe is talking to you.
Yeah.
So personally, I think any place that you're seeing any sort of coinkydink or coincidence or synchronicity or whatever, I think is a huge indication that we're on the right track.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it's, it's that thing of, like you say, this is conscious. This is the conscious selection example that, you see lots of books on the bookshelf and your focus goes onto one book. So that book comes into the foreground, everything else drops into the background. But that doesn't mean all the other possibilities don't exist. It just means they're dormant. And they can be activated at any time. So,
and I kind of recently did that, a YouTube kind of on the, how a lot of times when you try to manifest something, or maybe you're working on manifesting something, and then all of a sudden you see it elsewhere. And a lot of times people will get jealous or upset, and it's like, no, but that's actually your consciousness. Again, everything's reflected back on us, and we forget that if your attention is on it, it's for you.
Exactly.
You didn't have to look there. You didn't have to see it. You didn't have to tune into Pandora at that very second. So I think it's awesome. That's, for me, that's kind of the fun part of the spiritual living and the manifesting is when you get those little coincidences, if you will, for lack of a better way to put it, it feels like, oh my God, yeah, here it is. Here's a little breadcrumb. Like I'm on my way. I'm doing this. This is happening.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, that kind of ties in with, I wrote this down because I didn't want to.
What, you came prepared today?
I did. I actually wrote one thing down.
Nice. Nice.
Because explaining it can get quite complicated. So I thought I'm going to write it down because I had a conversation with a friend of mine in the Neville group. And the way she worded this was, through our conversation, was so well worded. I thought I'll write it down the way we talked about it and the way she described it, and I will read it. And it was about signs, we were talking about signs. So Neville says signs follow, they don't precede. Okay. So sometimes people scratch their head and go, hang on a minute, I thought signs came before, not after. So this is what Anita, my friend, we had the conversation about. I know nothing comes about in the physical world unless we have thought on it first. Therefore, it follows. So you have the thought, and then the sign follows as you receive a sign, or a mini manifestation. It's because of our thoughts, and it's also a way of indicating we're on the right path. And to keep going by feeding those thoughts with positive feeling. So, because I remember thinking, I really love Neville Goddard, but there's only one thing I disagree with. Signs come before for me, because this is what I thought. And then, I had this conversation with Anita, and she was saying, you have a thought, and because you're focused on a desire, then you have a thought, and then that goes out, and then you'll get a little you know, like you say, you might see someone else have what you've got.
Right.
So it's a manifestation of you going in the right direction. So there's your sign. How you interpret that as mine's coming or those bloody bastards got what I want, that's up to you which way you fork in the road. But I loved the way she described this because it was so different to how I thought of it at the time.
Well, it's stated kind of backwards in the sense of how you would say it, but the reality of it is nothing happens without thought first. Nothing. You can't create any sort of reality without imagining it first.
Yeah.
So exactly. Obviously the imaginal work, you're creating the path, you're creating the from that instance, and then dots will start to fill in after that.
Yeah.
But prior to the actual manifestation. So you're right. It's totally after, but without a doubt, it's also, I think it's that hint of what's coming too, right? Like a foreshadow.
Exactly.
That's
you know, I mean, I've asked many times, you know, when you're kind of getting that frustration or whatever. And I would just say, right, God within, I want a clear, unmistakable, obvious sign of what the hell do I need to do here? Because it's like when you're in those moments of confusion, you think you've worked out what you want and then something throws a spanner in the works and then you're kind of going, okay. So I would ask that and I would wait to see what was revealed. And that helped me many times.
I've done the same thing. And I've had people ask, they're like, well, how do you do that? And I'm like, it's surprisingly easy. All you do is just ask. It's all about intention. Everything is intention. What's your intent? There you go. That's what's coming back to you.
Exactly.
So it's just, you just ask. You're like, hey, like I think someone asked me specifically how to talk to someone's higher self because I had asked for a sign for my specific someone. I've actually done it to her a number of times. Yeah. I just said, hey, sweetheart, I really just want some sort of confirmation that I'm still something that reaches your thoughts every once in a while. Because, you know, this whole path we've been on, there's been plenty of times where we've gone weeks and, you know, without even texting each other, let alone anything else. Yeah. And, you know, a lot of times within a day or two at the latest, bam, you know, I'll get a text out of the blue or I'll get, like, even a couple times, it's like she'll just out of the blue send some of the most beautiful thoughts ever. Like, it's like, I don't know why you don't talk like this to me more often, but thank you. You know, it was exactly what I needed. And so, again, it was me putting it out there. It's all this work I've done all this work I'm doing. Work's a bad word too. It's all the imaginal exercises, efforts that I've done, energy that I've put out there even to get things to work between us. And all this is just answers back, smatterings of the universe and her saying, yeah, no, we're still cruising along. Don't let go yet. You know, like it's just, it's very cool how it plays out. And I think it's key for a lot of us is really just make up a decision and get behind it. And I think a lot of times that's the hardest part for us is we just want to argue with ourselves. And it's like, but no, like, you know what you want.
Defend our limitations.
Yes.
That's the thing. You got to surrender and give up your limitations and go, I'm doing it.
And I really say, I think it's understated how powerful letting go is. And the understanding, maybe this is even worth a little bit of dialogue here, but the concept of letting go doesn't mean I'm giving up on my dream. It doesn't mean I don't want it anymore. It doesn't mean I've stopped caring about my specific someone. For me, it was an issue of shutting my brain up and just saying, I don't care. Stop, stop, blah, blah, blah. Shut up. Let it go, you know? And like I said, in 3 weeks, a major event played out. And it was just me stopping because I was frustrating myself, which was jacking my energy, right? I mean, I'm grumpy. I'm not sure why this isn't happening. It's becoming personal. Now it's like I'm not good enough and I'm spinning back on the self-love issues. And it's like, come on, dude, you know better than this. You're totally good enough. You're fine. And you're like, why? So you just all this extra effort just to talk yourself back into what you already know is true.
Yes, but we lose our footing sometimes.
Yes.
You know?
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's perfectly cool, but we need to be able to acknowledge when it's happening. And sometimes, you know, like for me, I don't know, an easy way, like lose your fun. I mean, the analogy of losing your footing and letting go, bad idea.
Then you stitch the net on the way down.
Seriously, right? Exactly. Or you better hope that rope you can somehow.
Knitting.
Yeah, yes. On the fly. No pun intended.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think it's good for people to remember that there's all these things are healthy examples. It's if you're struggling through this, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with what you're doing.
Yeah.
But it's an indication that we need to look inward. We need to figure out what is it that I'm doing, or what is it that why am I so determined that it has to happen this specific way, or it has to happen in this specific time frame, or sometimes it's just let it be. Let it
be. And it is about, it's like trusting your conscious creations that you've launched. It's backing yourself and trusting yourself and not going into anxiety or all that spiral of stuff that has many different labels. It really is about, we just think we've got control and we don't.
I was just talking with a good friend, one of my spiritual buddies, just last night even, and it's kind of one of the big moments in my spiritual development. And there was an analogy that was given, and I still think it's just an awesome analogy, but it's the concept of like being in a river, right? And you got the water, the current's pulling, and you're kind of holding on to the side. Maybe you're holding on to a rock, and you got a little weed in your hand or something, and it's just holding you to the side. It's that moment when you let go, and the current takes you and starts running with you downstream, and you might hit the bottom, you might bounce and twist and twirl a couple times, and eventually you'll pop up, and you're just floating, and now you're just going with the flow.
Yeah.
There's no more struggle. There's no more.
Yeah.
And it is truly a powerful moment when you finally just let go and let it happen.
Let it happen. Yeah. It seems to be the easiest thing to do, and it is actually the hardest thing to do.
It really is. And I think it's that moment when we realize we're not necessarily in control of our lives, but we control the direction we're going. And I think we control what we're going to experience based off our thoughts and our words and our deeds and all those things. But we can't control what others are going to do. We can't, because that's a reflection, like you said, of us. Like, you know what I mean? Like when we're trying to come from a controlling aspect, you're already coming from that I want to get love kind of scenario. Versus, I don't want to control anybody. I just want to love. I just want to wrap my arms around this person and just hold them and just love them. And that's like...
And just love them,
Like,
and I think once you hit that point, because I know that was a really big point for me, that... Because I was definitely a taker, Like, that's why I talk about this with so much enthusiasm, because I know it. I've been the taker.
Right.
And I've experienced the people going. So I understand that position, and I also understand the thinking. It's like you see everything through the taking filter, as you were talking about filters. We see everything through that taking filter. You can't even understand what radiating love out and giving to that person means, because you're so focused on yourself, and it's so self-centered.
It means nothing to you. You have no reference point, no understanding. It's like get a dog, and that'll show you what real love is.
That dog will give endlessly.
Yes.
Until he gets the shits and
exactly.
too.
Or until he takes his treat and runs away from you, right? Now he's a taker. Now my dog's a taker. Damn it. I manifested a taker animal.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But it's such a learning about the self. Like, goodness, what it teaches you when you're trying to pursue a specific person, what it makes of you to learn.
Yes.
Harness the things within yourself. Learn to self-nurture, self-love, give to yourself, keep yourself emotionally in a good space, and then present that to the other person.
Right.
Now that's the gift for them.
That. And, oh God, that's just such a great feeling, too, when you're actually coming at it from that feeling and you're actually truly radiating love to someone just to send them love.
Because.
For no other reason, just you want them to know, hey, I love you. That's it. That's all I want from you. I don't need anything else.
I don't need anything.
Nope. Just need you to know that I love you. And that's,
That's great. That's such a great moment.
Oh, and the feeling that you have when you're doing that is just profound. It's it's beautiful. It's delicious.
Yeah.
So did I oversell or what? That was freaking good stuff, man. So anyway, we got 2 more episodes, so stay tuned because I got more of those coming up probably tomorrow and the next day. That we're going to be going out with a song by Tesla. Many of you might know it from back in the 90s, roughly-ish. But the song's called Signs. Very good song. It's a crap recording, dude. I seriously dug for just trying to find like an album version of it, and all I could find was live, and it was anyway, don't get me started. If you'd like to contact me, though, feel free to do so. Yes, at danradiostyle@gmail.com. And, we'll keep going. Throw some comments in there if you'd like. Gonna get the flow started. Share with others what you've got going on with all that stuff. And, again, we got 2 more episodes coming up. Going out with Tesla, doing Signs. Or trying. We seriously are.